Well, hello there, whānau. Welcome to a brand new podcast for a brand new world. This is the New Zealand Leftist Collective. Kia ora and hello to you. Chewy, hello. Calvin, hello.
Good evening, Pat.
A big thanks as well to Rock Tees. The theme you just heard was a Rock Tees entrant, Chewy, in the theme one that we did back for that other show, which we're not going to talk about tonight because this is a different show. So that was one of the entries for that show, and I've been talking to Rock Tees, and we thought that sounds pretty. I'm thinking 1980s black and white, vivid, English sort of vibe to it. So I thought, let's go with it. So thank you, Rock Tees, for that, and we are going to hopefully use it lots and lots and lots. So this is not that other podcast that will not be named by me and Chewy. This is a different one. It's the New Zealand Leftist Collective. The idea of this is to get a group of people who create content, who sit on the left, the progressive side of politics, bring them together once in a while, maybe once a month. We'll see what happens, to talk about the issues of the day. Tonight, we've got potentially up to 7 of us be here at the same time. Bomber's going to stop in at some stage and say g'day. Clint Smith's going to drop in and say g'day. Paul Barlow's going to drop in and say g'day. We have got Spider Hoof out there at the moment, struggling with technology. I might have just heard Spider Hoof pop in. Should we go live, gents, and see what happens? See if Spider Hoof can hear us. Let's see, shall we? Spider Hoof, come in. Are you there?
Hello, how are you doing?
Hey!
Oh, yay!
Are you hearing us?
Yay.
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh,
I have
fantastic.
had some issues, obviously, in the last 5 minutes, so that's very helpful. But I am here now, so let's see if it stays that way.
We were just padding, waiting for you. Like, we didn't know what to do without you, so we just started.
Are we live now or nah?
We are live. We are live.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We put it off for a couple of minutes for you to see
Sorry,
what to do,
everybody.
but we are live now. Yes, just explaining to everyone, Spides, that what we're trying to do here is bring together people who create content, who sit on the left, the progressive side of politics, and once in a while get together and talk about issues of the day. The people who are going to possibly pop in at some stage tonight. But remember, there's also a lot of people out getting drunk at Christmas parties. So whether people turn up or not, we'll wait and see.
Sure.
We'll wait and see.
Yeah.
So welcome everyone. Welcome guys. How was everyone's week? Have you all finished work or what's going on? Spider Hoof, what about you? What's happening in your world at the moment?
Yep, no more work for the rest of the year, so I am very pleased. So I'm pretty happy about 2024 being over. It wasn't the best of years, is it? So yeah, shall celebrate it quite well on the 31st as a farewell, definitely.
Yeah. What about you, Calvin?
Oh, babysitting season, school holidays. Happy days. Happy days. So yeah, that's what I'm immersed in, but all ready for Christmas and pretty much all just chilling out at the moment, trying to fill days, keeping the 2 little so-and-sos amused, which is fun. Yeah.
Nice. Chewy, anything going on? Anything to know about?
Retail. Yes, I am a retail worker. And so you talking about the end of work and holidays and such. Can't relate. Can't relate at all. No, I'm going right through past New Year's. So that'll be fun.
Working stats? We've got stats. Christmas Day, everyone's got off, obviously, but working stats other than that?
Christmas Day I have off. Boxing Day, I believe I am working. I think my boss got away with closing the shop for New Year's Day. So there's
nice.
There's that. Doesn't always happen. So yeah, just shout out to all my retail peeps coming into the final hurdles.
So what we thought we'd do in this first, hopefully, of many New Zealand Leftist Collectives, big thanks to Spider Hoof, who kind of designed that intro that we just played before. It looked and sounded really good. Spides.
Oh, I missed it.
When you missed it, that's okay. You can look back on the replay.
I've seen it before.
You have. Is probably just look back over the year is what we're going to do. I mean, I imagine if we do this, I'm hoping we might think about doing this monthly next year. But whatever, regularly, semi-regularly, and I imagine we'll be more current if we're doing that. But because this is the first time, this is just us hanging out and having a chat, and we might look back over kind of our own stories of the year, probably meaning with whatever platform we mostly use. And I guess, Calvin, you'd mostly be known for Twitter, and Spides, you'd mostly be known for TikTok. Would that be fair?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Maybe what are the biggest stories from our platforms, or just the stories we think deserve a bit of it. They are the biggest stories that we think, even if they weren't maybe the biggest numbers. And what will be happening during the show as well was people will be coming and going. And we've just actually had our first person come and join. Paul, the other one, Barlow, is with us. Kia ora, Paul.
Kia ora, how's everyone going?
Good, mate. How are you doing? How's your day? How's your week? What's happening for Christmas? Are you finished work?
No, I actually work all the way through. I do contract work with a council. I'm not going to mention specifics, but it means that I'm working all the way through the holiday period doing comms work with them. So we've already got action plans if there are big natural disasters, and I'll start working on that when I finally get back up to Auckland. But I've just spent the last week touring. I've been down in Wellington the last few days. I'm currently sitting in Oakuni underneath the mountains. Surprised that there's still snow on it this time of year.
Wow.
Yeah, ticking along.
Very cool. Now, you're one of our kind of guests for tonight. I mean, we're all here, but coming and hanging out for a bit and then heading off. So why don't you start us off? Because, because you're coming and going, you're gonna say g'day and then move on. It makes sense for you to tell us about your story. Are we referencing any of your content, or have you just got a story to throw out there as one of the big ones from the year for you?
I'll tell you one of the biggest stories that I've covered that I know no one else has done yet, because I suspect that there's been a lot of movement on the same stories for a lot of us because they resonate with people. They want. We all know Luxon's an idiot. We all know Nicola Willis has tanked the economy. All that kind of stuff. The biggest story that I covered for me personally was actually around the Tauranga election. And dealing with the crazies that they had there, because Tauranga is a town or a city that's very well known for its ultra conservative views. It has some incredibly racist loudmouths that are very vocal. And doing some digging into some of their candidates beforehand, like sort of as the election was rolling up, there were 3 or 4 that sort of jumped out as being linked to conspiracy theory thinking and falling down that rabbit hole. Sort of the anti-fluoride stuff and I think vaccines are bad, and Jacinda has horse teeth kind of things. Those rabbit hole things that we see all the time. And one of the people that I mentioned in the initial work that I did, her daughter reached out to me, and then her other daughter, and then her other 2 kids, and then her 3 stepkids, and then the person that she used to be in business with, and then I just had them come out of the woodwork with how horrible and nasty this one woman was that was running for council in Tauranga. And she's happy and smiley, and I'm there to support everyone, and I think we could all do great. And it turned out she was the most passive-aggressive, nasty candidate I've ever come across. Ashley Bloomfield apparently personally vilified her and told her she wasn't allowed to get the vaccine, or she wasn't allowed to get her exemption. She found out her husband had been having an affair, so went around to the person that he was having the affair with and threatened to burn herself in the driveway in front of the woman's 16-year-old son. She's just complete nut job. One of the people she started a business with decided that she never wanted to speak to her again, described it as having been literally dragged through hell by her feet, and going back and dealing with her again would have been. So it was something that really blew up for me because I didn't expect it. I knew there would always be candidates running in every local election who have these conspiracy theory beliefs, but I still get death threats from Tauranga, from people who are her supporters over it.
Wow. And are we mentioning this person's name, or?
So her name is Susie Edmonds, and it's not to be mistaken with the Susie Edmonds who writes for, I think it's The Post or Stuff. I know that there's a journalist out there with that name. It's not her. But this woman, Susie Edmonds in Tauranga, is just completely off the deep end crazy. But she sits there and nods and smiles, and it's all passive aggressive. And I really just want everyone to be happy. And her kids have trespassed her from their places of work. She tried to kidnap one of her grandkids from a school because it's just, absolute nut job. And seeing how crazy that was running in that election, and you sort of sitting there going, I really hope that the people of Tauranga know who they're voting for. She got knocked out in the first round because it's STV voting, thankfully. But there's a few people there that should be really concerned about her still claiming to be the voice of the people.
Wow. And obviously, everything you've just said, you can back up. Should she want to come after you?
Absolutely. She actually threatened many times when it came out with, Digital Harms Act and defamation and stuff like that. So she knows full well that if she wanted to do anything about it, she would have to prove exactly what was being said was incorrect, and she can't do that because I've got everything to back it up.
Is the best place for people to find you TikTok still? Is that?
Yeah. Anywhere they want, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. I'm on Blue Sky these days, sort of floating around everywhere, really. I am using Twitter less and less these days. It's a toxic place.
Same, yeah.
I don't know how we really speak to your big news story there. It sounds like more of a personal one. Anyone want to add anything into Paul? I mean, I guess there is a conversation to be had around things like sovereign citizens and, people who are going to take over local bodies to influence. Calvin, you had quite a bit to do with that in your Twitter feed, didn't you?
Yeah, it's only for me. It's a real fine line, like making the decision to post about something or someone, because invariably, I can't speak for anyone else, obviously, but with what I do, I run the great risk, and I've been accused of it many times, of platforming people, which is obviously not what we want. But the way that I have always put it is, the public need to know about what these people are up to in the background. They're trying to subvert our democracy by any means necessary. And so the community has a right to know about it. So I put it out there just to start a conversation more than anything, and for public awareness. There's a ton of subsets around there. There's no one master group per se. There's lots of little cluster groups all around the Motu, North and South Island, and some of them compete with each other. I don't know what you've looked into, Paul, but the reason why I say that and know that is simply because I'm in this position where I post about people and whatever, and invariably along the line, either those very people or people attached to those people will contact me to give me insider information or confirm or deny what I've said about them, all that sort of stuff. And so you gradually be able to, I'm able to basically link all these people together, and where they're concerned, it's hugely competitive for one. Yeah, is how I'd best probably describe it. So you got Calvin Alp in this corner. Liz Gunn used to be with them, not so much anymore because they're falling out. You've got a guy down in Nelson called the Nelson Knight, aka Mark Thompson. He's the guy on Telegram that also has a channel on there that posts, what is it? The Nuremberg 2.0 notice page, where he puts screenshots of people and he lists all their crimes and, all that sort of shit. And it's a whole gamut of people, journalists, doctors, politicians, people like me. I've yet to make the list, and I'm very disappointed, but hopefully that's goal for 2025. And then there's other little, like I said before, cluster groups. And some of the stuff that they talk about is quite concerning. Very, very concerning. And the latest is a person by the name of Janine. I won't give her last name at this point, but I have posted about her. She's Tauranga based. She's spent the last good couple of years harassing health officials over the pandemic mandates and whatnot. She, using Sovsit ideology, she believes that she's in charge basically of the entire country now, certainly the health ministry and all the rest of it.
I've seen her. She made some kind of pledge to be in charge of everything, eh?
That's it. Yeah,
she got rid of all debt. She was declaring that nobody had debt anymore.
I should thank you for that, actually. Yeah, thank you for that. Appreciate it.
She lodged in excess of 100 affidavits with the High Court, and because none of them were officially rebuked, a health official came along, who I won't name as well, because he's been subject to too much harassment already. But essentially, he came in, went through the process to withdraw them all. So obviously, they're all null and void. And the latest on her is, as of about 10 days ago, she posted a video saying, which was like a fake court where she had two witnesses, ran this court for half an hour and basically convicted him of these crimes, and now he apparently owes in excess of $1 trillion. It's just fucking ludicrous. Excuse my language, that's my son, but it's fucking ludicrous, you know?
And we have a local body election next year. These people are going to come out of the woodwork because they see it as a low-stakes democracy attempt. And we saw it at the last one with Voices for Freedom coming out and doing the whole make the country ungovernable. And they got about 21, 22 candidates elected around the entire country. But they're not going to have, like, we've lost the Democracy Project, the Disinformation Project, the all Stuff Circuit, all of those areas that were investigating this and making that information public are gone. So there's very little safeguards in the public sphere now to say to the public, these are people you shouldn't be voting for because they don't have your best interests at heart. You might, there are always going to be candidates you don't agree with, but on a political level, but actively not having your best interests at heart is a really concerning thing for anyone elected. They're going to try and sneak through because they know nobody's there to stop them and everyone's going to be distracted by the Māori award referendum.
Hey, before we keep
Do you
going
not
with Paul's
understand?
thoughts, before we go, hang on a sec, because Clint's in the waiting room. Let's bring Clint in as well, because then we will continue on. So you keep welcome, Clint Smith, former advisor of Jacinda Ardern, joining us, the Leftist Collective. Spider, you were saying.
I was saying that I don't understand how people can't listen to these extremist, strange views and instantly know this person's crazy. I don't get how the logic doesn't leap in straight away. They might hide it, but they don't hide it well. Come on.
No, they don't. These catchphrases like I believe in common sense is a really good catchphrase that you see a lot from these sort of people. It's all about common sense and thinking things through logically and having critical thinking skills. They rattle it off like they have it, but they clearly don't. But they don't recognize it in others. But it sounds like the kind of thing that you want in an elected official. There's a lot of stuff in there about making sure you've got local management and local decision making as well that comes through in the way that they describe themselves. But for a lot of people, all they look at is the paperwork that comes out, the booklet that comes out, and they go, oh, well, this person looks like an okay candidate. I like their photo. Done. I'll vote for them. But 70% of people don't vote in local body elections.
I like how they like their photo. What they're saying is the right color, and then they tick that box. I was going to ask Clint as well. Clint, you worked on the 9th floor with Jacinda Ardern, and you probably witnessed David Seymour. Does he know he's as crazy as we all think he is? Like, is he aware of it?
I've only spoken to Seymour in person once. He actually gave me and Phil Twyford a lift back from somewhere, and he was really nice and personable. And I think that's part of the key to it, actually, is like if you are espousing hateful policies and you're an unlikable person, you don't tend to get far. They need that combination of being quite affable to be able to push through policies that most people don't agree with. And I think how people fall into these ideologies and conspiracy theories. It's the myth of the frog in the boiling water, right? It slowly heats up on you, and you get drawn in by it's common sense. Let's think about this critically. Which no one can argue that we shouldn't use common sense and think about things critically. And then before you know it, you're down the rabbit hole.
I mean, Pat, you remember when you did that series interviewing Dunedin candidates?
Dunedin mayors,
and there were a couple scattered throughout then of like quite established local body politicians, and then
a guy called Richard. I can't remember his surname, but he didn't believe in he didn't believe in viruses. Like there wasn't a COVID thing. He just didn't believe in viruses.
But he was a classic one for what Paul was talking about of having your little blurb in the election booklet, right? Because he was extremely pro cycling. Like, so you're like, oh, okay, I agree with cycle lanes. I agree with, he's talking about climate change and that sort of thing. And then you dig a bit deeper, and it's like, oh yeah, viruses don't exist, and Jacinda Ardern is sent from hell, and all of this sort of stuff. And then like he must have had a Google alert set on his name, because this is before BHN really took off. I said something on my own Facebook page of like, I think this guy is fucking crazy, and he was in my mentions like straight away. Threats and that sort of thing, and I think he only backed off when I just started roundly mocking him, and I told him if I saw him on his bicycle, I'd make him eat it. And after that, he left me alone. But yeah, he pops up every Richard Seeger. That's his name. Yeah. But yeah, I think like those guys, those disparate groups, and they're always bitching and fighting. It's like a fucking crackhead soap opera. But I think when we come into the local body elections, they'll coalesce again. Yeah. Because I think they had kind of a good idea of like, well, if we flood the zone, if we just try and keep our mask on long enough, then we can really sort of fuck with stuff. Like in Christchurch, they had a neo-Nazi running for a school board. That was mad.
Yeah, and there are some that hide it really well. Elizabeth Munt in, I can't remember. It's near Christchurch. Brain's completely faded at the moment. Possibly somewhere like that. But I know she was the one that had the door knock from Stuff going, "Are you a member of Voices for Freedom?"
Oh, yes.
If you sit down and you look at how she deals with the media and what she does, because she got elected, it's all very, I want to help the environment. I'm here. That's what I'm really passionate about. I want my kids to be safe out there. I want dogs to be looked after. You know, it's common sense stuff. But then it turns out that she's got this alternate alias that she uses on Telegram, that she goes out of her way. That's the one. She goes out of her way to disparage things like water features, like getting 3 waters up and running, or whatever the new unaffordable water or whatever the hell National's putting through. She lied like about her dog being dead, so that she didn't have to pay her animal registration fees. But she presents this lovely professional, look at me, I'm a professional, so you can trust us kind of face to the public. And those are the ones that are really dangerous. You get people like Jaspreet Boprai from Southland, or Gil Booth from Teviot Valley. They are really open about how insane they are. They're on Voices for Freedom. You look at their page and it's all Biden was replaced by a robot and that kind of down the rabbit hole stuff. People can access that if they want to, but they have to want to do that. For somebody like Elizabeth, you can't see it until you literally go digging into the deepest pits to find it.
So, hey, speaking of Joe Biden, I saw some alert online today that everyone's been called back to the White House and there's something going on. And I don't know if it's conspiracy theory, but apparently Kamala's been called back in and yada, yada, yada. Sorry to interrupt you, Calvin, because I thought it might be good to continue on this conversation, because some of the clips that you've presented are of that kind of world, especially Destiny Church. But I was just thinking, because Clint has also just jumped in for a quick chat, maybe we could play the video for Clint, which is actually a video from today, and speak to that one, and then circle back to this with your videos, Calvin. Is that cool for everyone? And what about you, Paul? Are you going to hang for a bit? Or are you shooting off now?
Yeah, I'll hang for a little bit.
All right. So let's, and we always want to show where people's from, because part of this idea is to get together and hang out and meet people we know. So is it the best place to find you on Twitter, Clint?
It is. That drawing, by the way, is my daughter's portrait of me.
Oh, very good. It's lifelike. I do enjoy a man. Are those long eyelashes or big eyebrows? Yeah. Which is it?
Eyelashes. True to life.
Oh, true to life.
Eyelashes are one of my strongest features.
Now, some of you guys may have already seen this today, but this is something that I noticed Clint getting all over on his Twitter feed. So let's have a look at this clip from a certain Nicola, who has now a different name, which I'll show you shortly, Whānau, shows up in this feed quite a lot. Nicola Willis wanting to poke the bone, wanting to say you're wrong. It's always good when someone says that, because it means they're always perfect with their numbers. Volume, here we go again.
Uh-oh, Labour's been caught fudging the numbers again. Barbara Edmonds shared this graph to make out like debt tracked better under Labour, except she used a different measure of debt for 2023 than for previous years, making it look like debt went way down under the last government. It did not. Guess what?
I wonder if the answer to guess what is I borrowed more this year than 5 out of the 6 Labour terms. I wonder if that was the guess what. I wonder if she's going to say guess what.
Guess what? I spotted it straight away because this is how I do my publicist talks to data as well. That's how she spotted it.
It went way up. So this is beyond a cosmetic retouch of the numbers and is instead a complete airbrushing of history. So this. Speaking
of airbrushing, does this have a filter? She's looking pretty 1980s in this, the kind of aura around her. Maybe.
I don't know. It kind of has a 1991 vibe to it to me.
For some reason. Who knows why?
Very good. Very good.
Either a case of extraordinary fiscal ignorance and innumeracy or a case of willful deception. Either way, it doesn't look good for Barbara Edmonds. Ouch. Uh-oh.
Now, Chewy, the reason I love this so much is if you go through the feed, it doesn't take very long. The first one. It doesn't look good for Nikki No Boats. Deep recession for us, billion, and it's everywhere. This is not my story. We're going to ask Clint about this, but I have to say one of the highlights of my year is watching some of these things we've been saying and putting out there go well beyond our podcast into the society, whether it's Karen Plunkett or whether it's Nikki No Boats. It's just a life of its own, and you can see it and hear all the way through. It's fantastic. But anyway, it's not about me. It's not about us, Chewy. Clint, love your thoughts around that little old video from today.
I mean, I said in reply to this, imagine having that self-confidence. You've just posted this massive deficit. You've put the country into the deepest recession it's been in since 1991. You've lost 29,000 jobs in 1 year. But, the other side put out a graph and they've made a mistake in one of the numbers. We'll get them. Haven't they fudged it? She literally invented a new way of measuring the deficit that happened to reduce the deficit by $4 billion and tried to run that on Tuesday. It was only on Tuesday. It just... I don't think you take this seriously. I don't think you come back and you go, oh, well, look, if you use this measure, blah, blah, blah. You just have to mock it for what it is. She is just going to run these lines and you just have to expose the ridiculousness of such an unsuccessful government claiming to have any authority on the economy or to be any experts on any of this stuff. And so I think you just have to call it out and mock it for what it is, because it isn't.
They are experts on fudging stats, though. They are experts on fudging stats. So give them that.
Sure. It's home ground for it.
Anyone else? Paul, you want to have a crack?
Well, I was actually having dinner last night with somebody from Treasury, and I had some very fascinating conversations with them about Nicola. The term Nicola No Boats has certainly gotten around there. And part of the reason for it is because, and Clint, you've probably come across this a little bit in your time there as well. Every time you get a new government, there is always going to be a few projects that you inherit that you just sort of rename a little bit and rebrand, and suddenly you've got this amazing project that you're continuing. And it was kind of expected within the walls of Treasury that was going to happen with the IREX project, even though they come out and said, look, we're going to change. It was basically, there's 5 organizations in charge of building the infrastructure, and we've got one building the boat. They'll probably leave the boat and do something with the infrastructure. And instead she comes in and it's an instant, no, we're getting rid of the whole thing without any backup plan. And for the people in Treasury, that was the big warning sign that this wasn't a government that's there thinking about, okay, how can we do better for the people that have voted us in? Or what can we do that's right for the people that are there? It's, we need to do something to punish or make the other guys look bad. And so it's a real shock for the, because civil servants are there to work government to government. It doesn't matter what their personal ideologies are, they're there to do the job in front of them. And to have something like that happen in such a dramatic way put so many of them on guard that it was an instant back against the wall. We have to be really careful here. And then to get comments like, we want everybody to stop working from home and coming into town. it was seen as almost a personal attack from people within the civil service, because it's not like they're not doing the work. It's not like they're not productive when they're working from home. It just feels like everything that they're getting at the moment from the government feels to them like it's done for the wrong reasons. It's not there to help voters. And to see somebody like Nicola turn around and go, oh, you know, we found this one tiny little mistake on a graph. This is a person who you constantly find mistakes everywhere that she does anything that she does. There's mistakes and issues that crop up. And the irony of it is just amazing.
Barbara Edmonds deleted that graph. So obviously it's like, oops, and deleted it. So now what they're saying is she made a mistake and then she acknowledged it. How dare she?
Exactly.
Well, I suppose they're not used to that.
About that graph. that graph isn't like an official. It isn't an official Labor graph or anything like that. It's actually done by someone I know down here in Dunedin. He did this chart and has been updating it for I think a couple of years. So this is just a random private person who's decided to do this, and a Labor MP has decided to share it. And Nicola is crowing from the rooftops that it's all wrong and the whole thing's a sham. And the Labor Party
I think part of that, though, is also showing that they have nothing else to argue back against. You know, it's the left-leaning parties are in opposition, so they have to find everything they can to grasp at straws and distract from the mistakes that they're making, because there's a lot of mistakes that they're making. You know, things like we're going to make policy based on evidence. No, they're not.
Yeah, I was just going to say, yeah, the IREX one, like, is incredible, right? Again, it's that arrogance to come into government, you know, literally 2 weeks in the office, and say, I'm going to pull down this project that's taken 5 years, that's, you know, had been gone through 2 major reviews in 2023, and the experts had come back and said, yeah, look, it sucks that it's got more expensive, but this is still the best path ahead. You know, and say, actually, we're going to tear it down, and you know what? I'm going to find a better result. And it turns out it's not that easy, right? Like a year later, they haven't found a better result. They've spent a lot of money. They've you know, wasted their opportunity to get the ferries that we needed. But it's, you know, it's an incredible mindset to just go, I can do better. I've never been a minister before, but I reckon I can do better than that. I reckon I can do better than all the experts who have looked at this. And you know, and also, you know, nobody goes into politics wanting to spend $1.5 billion extra dollars on ferries, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do, right? The country needs stuff, and you know, you got to be adult about it. But I think the politics always comes first of these guys, and so they thought here was a chance to kick Labor and say, look how wasteful Labor was. We're cutting this waste, not thinking about what was actually going to practically happen to the country as a result of that decision. And you see that time and again, that the politics comes first in their decision making, and the reality for the country comes second, if at all.
Well, I think it was a very efficient hit of them, because they took a swing at Labor, take a swing at a powerful union and Kiwi Rail, and have an opportunity to set up a company that they can then privatize. It's efficient. It's made them look like absolute clowns, and hopefully we have enough runway to stop them from going ahead with that. But yeah, when they're fucking with 30 to 50 years, well, 100 years in terms of the port facilities, infrastructure, like, I just wish that there was an adult in the room going, look, you can snipe at the left v right fight, but when it's infrastructure, when it's a hospital, when it's the ferries and a major transport link, can you just put that away? And I think there's been rumblings that, hey, maybe this is a really good example, but I have zero faith that anybody's going to follow through with it and go, okay, we don't touch each other's fucking infrastructure projects.
Got much on for Christmas, Clint? Got a big Christmas coming up for you?
We're going to be home with the family over Christmas, but we've got a little temporary pool we put up in summer, so that'll be nice, and get away in January for a couple of weeks.
Oh man, do you have summer where you are? We don't.
Well, I had to move out of Wellington up the Kapiti Coast to get some summer. I'm from Napier, and just decade and a half in Wellington was too much for me.
Chewy's just not aware. He was away for the long weekend, and that's when summer happened in Dunedin, and he missed it. So that he missed out on it. There you go. All right. Is there anything else you want to talk about? Especially, Nikki Nobo says one of your big stories for the year, Nicola Willis and the Fairies, that had to come out at some stage. Or should we move into, maybe we do Calvin's clips, because Calvin's do kind of tie back into what Paul was saying.
I'll just quickly say one thing. Another sort of the big story of the year for me. My biggest tweet of the year that got the most pickup, and it wasn't because it was a quality tweet, but it was on the back of the haka in Parliament when. I think I just tweeted Jerry Brownlee looking awkward and saying, when you realise that your parliament is built on someone else's land. And,
not like a dude.
Yeah, that really hit home for me. That haka, that reminded me of that the legitimacy of parliament and everything else that we take for granted as being the sovereign government of New Zealand is based on, it is built on Māori land, it is, the treaty is what gives it that legitimacy, and I thought that was just such an incredibly powerful moment.
I had a great interaction in Parliament the other day. I was going through doing the Parliament tour. We were in the Parliament library, and there's a few MPs who have their offices down there. One of them is Todd Stevenson, and we're in the middle of the tour person being asked questions, and this lovely gentleman gets up with a very thick accent, and as Todd Stevenson is walking through the tour group, goes, "Can you tell me about the haka that girl did, where she tore up the thing, and then all the people that showed up, and why everybody around the world seemed to love it, but some politicians here don't?" And just seeing like Todd put his head down and ran his way through the crowd, it was absolutely glorious. And to her credit, the woman doing the tour said, "I'm not allowed to take sides politically. All I can say it is an area that people are very passionate about." So it was a perfect response. But
so she didn't go. She didn't go, "Oh, here's one of the people who didn't like it. Why don't you jump on board and tell us why?" No. Excellent. Well, that still does kind of lead us to you, Calvin, a bit, doesn't it? Because I think that you yourself said that your biggest. What happened here? I lost your tweet, brother. Hang on. Oh, there we go. That your biggest tweet of the year was that as well, wasn't it? Was the haka? I'll go bring it back up. I've put it somewhere strange, but that was the thing that was your biggest numbers wise story from the year. Yeah.
Yeah, I threw it out there and only expected it. I knew it would fly, but realistically, because all social media obviously just became flooded with what I'd describe as an iconic moment for 2024. And so I sort of figured around about 50K would be, good viewer numbers. But ultimately, I posted twice about it, but the main tweet just under 500,000 views, as you can see there.
490,000. I think that it might be appropriate. This might be a little Christmas present for all of us, that we actually watch it again, eh? I think it's a good thing to do. Let's do that.
If 6 votes opposed.
That was one of my favourite parts. Jerry Brownlee. No. Let's not do. No, don't do that.
Te Pāti Māori.
E ono ngā pōti if 6 votes opposed.
I haven't actually seen that angle before. I haven't seen the what do you call the guys at the top? Cheap seats?
The rafters.
Gallery.
I haven't seen the gallery actually going for it. I hadn't seen that before, so there's a new thing for me this week. So thank you. So yeah, that was That's pretty huge. I mean, I guess that's a thing to talk through and cover off if anyone wants to talk to it. I mean, what was it? 10 billion views or 6 billion views or some ridiculous number around the world I got seen, which is amazing. Why that person can't be, anyone thinks that any other politician, I heard Plunkett the other day say, my politician of the year is David Seymour, whereas Hannah actually like her or be against her politically, like what she did for literally New Zealand, and that was ginormous this year.
Yeah, well, she of course ended up one of the most, what did the BBC name her? One of the most 100, in the top 100 of the most influential women around the world this year, I think it was. Something like that.
I just have to butt in and say, very importantly, it's always the female politicians that do so well on the world stage. That's just me being my feminine. I know I've got this beard on, but I still girl power over here. So,
right on. What was heartening for me to see in all the replies and mentions on my particular post was just the level of people commenting about how it inspires them so much, you know. And to be fair, most of those replies and mentions were women. So she did good. She did real good. Pāti Māori all day, every day, man.
That story had legs internationally as well, and I think resonated with Indigenous struggles right throughout the world. But I especially Hawaii, North America, they really latched onto it and were just like, "This is fucking incredible." And look, as a white guy from the bottom of the South Island, that and the hikoi, like that made me feel more pride in this country than I've felt in a long time. Like, and I saw that echoed right throughout the social media space from a variety of people. You know, it was pride. And I don't think you can really quantify that at that stage, but if they keep on that momentum, that'll be something else.
Yeah. We had Chloe on this week, and I asked her, do you think realistically, like at some stage in the future, could you imagine the Greens being the biggest party on the left? She's just like, yep, absolutely. You know, that's sort of the target. And I think you'll see that, like the left is, even though there are 3 on the right, 3 on the left feels like they're equally more proportionate to what maybe the population is. And, you know, 2 of them are a bit smaller and 1 of them is a bit bigger, but moving together and seeing what happens. And it was interesting as well, Chewy, I'll talk this to you, but everybody, that I saw a story this week about memorandums of understandings happening between the parties, meetings happening between the leaders of the parties on the left to go after this thing together. And that's exactly what we've been talking about for the last year. Get together left like this. Get together left, talk it out. Greens do the Greens things, Labor do. I mean, we've been saying that, you know, it's the Greens' job to activate that further left voter who can be a little bit sit on the couch and maybe not want to participate because not everything lines up perfectly. And Māori Party, just let them loose at Māori population and get them in. Labor, take as many of those swing voters as you can. Get them back on your side. Do your jobs and, actually plan it together. And they seem to be doing that.
Yeah, I want to see a quarterly barbecue with the top players all hanging out, having a good time. Definitely.
Yeah.
I think it's a good segue into the Greens, actually, if I may, just very briefly, and just acknowledge the really tough year that they've had. Because, of course, right at the beginning of the year, second week of January, there was all the trouble with Gorries. And then, of course, leading into February was a terrible moment where we lost Isefo Collins.
True.
Which was like that personally for me, that affected me quite deeply. Like I didn't know him personally, and he was a follower, which was a privilege. But I just really looked up to that guy, and I thought of all the people in that godforsaken building, he was going to bring something to just a little bit different, and perhaps just calm some shit down. You know what I mean? So that was terrible. And then, of course, James Shaw resigned. Not long after that, the Darlene Tana started happening.
Then Marama was cancer news.
Marama's diagnosis.
Yeah, what a year. Sheesh.
Yeah. But I think they should do well next year, I think, and we'll start to once the big clouds are gone, I think we'll start to see them rise again next year.
Yeah.
Hey
All
guys,
right.
so I have to shoot off, but
Yep.
thanks a lot for having me.
No worries, but
Well, thanks for
And
coming in, Clint.
Merry Christmas to you all, and hope to see more of you next year.
Yeah, we'll talk to you in
Merry Christmas.
2025, Clint.
And well done, guys, on how BHN and all this is going. You've really built something now. It's really got some real steam. It's great. to
I
see.
don't think we're allowed to mention the name of our podcast because it feels like that we're putting ownership.
It's
on this,
unrelated.
so it's unrelated. It's the show that's the unnameable show. Voldemort. We can call the show Voldemort tonight. That's fine. All right, Clint. Hey, thanks for being involved this year, mate, and we'll talk to you in the new year.
Cheers. See you all.
Cool.
Peace.
cheers, well.
How about you, Paul? You going all right there?
I'm doing fine here. I can give you another 10 minutes.
Okay, cool. Calvin, the other thing that you were showing in some of your kind of highlights reels, and it's interesting how sometimes particular people hit a particular algorithm. Like Paul was talking about the things, maybe not numbers wise, but those local body things that were hitting him. And something that seems to be hitting you or hit you this year from what you sent me was a bunch of stuff on your feed around Destiny Church. Is there any one of these you particularly want that we should play, like that we can talk to and you can mention? Or all of them? What do you want to do?
I just to give you the background on that. So I originally joined Twitter after like about 3.5 odd years ago after getting, and I'll be brief with this, getting quite sick of all the bullshit over on Facebook. It was just a childish playground, and I wanted to go and play with some adults, as it were. So somebody said to me, "Oh, have you tried Twitter?" And I said no. So anyway, I joined, and after a few months, what actually did pop into my feed was Brian Tamaki, and that was when he did his very first lockdown protest where he marched to the Domain, I think it was, Auckland Domain.
Yeah.
And that kind of caught my attention and frankly pissed me off. So I just started tracking what he was up to. So I don't, his stuff doesn't come at me. I don't follow him or anything like that. I actually track him. And I've done that for the last, it'll be coming up. It must be just gone 3 years now, I guess. 3 years ago since the first lockdown. Pretty sure it is, eh? Mm-hmm. So he's obviously a polarizing figure within Aotearoa. And frankly, especially within the last 12 months, this year in particular, since he obviously achieved his massive 0.33% in the general election before last. Fuck as he saw about that still. But anyway, he's lost his shit. I mean, the crap that comes out of his mouth, I don't like broadcasting it, to be honest, but I think it's important that the community actually gets to hear what he's saying and what he's up to. This guy is so fucking emboldened. It incenses me. And that's why I continue to track and post about him. Who the fuck goes out there and says, I'm holding a protest, I'm going to shut down State Highway 1 because I'm Brian Tamaki and I don't give a shit what you say, think or feel or whatever about that, but I'm just going to do that. And also, no pride flags are allowed, no Palestinian flags, and all this sort of crap, and all the human rights violations that come out of his mouth and speaking about the LB pride community and all that sort of stuff. So anyway, there's been, any number of, I wouldn't call them highlights, but certainly incidents over the last 24 months. And the one that I've sent you that you've got up, that's actually the second one. So the first one, so on the 25th of March, a couple of days before that, some people may remember that a couple of drag artists by the name of Erica and Coco Lee had set up a tour around the Mid-North Island area to do drag story time in libraries with a few city councils, Hawke's Bay, Gisborne, and might be Wanganui or New Plymouth, can't remember. In any case, Brian Tamaki got wind of this, and a day out from them doing their appearance in Gizzy, demanded of the council that they cancel it because it's perversion and it's bloody this and that. And as you can see on her sign that she's holding there, R18, adult entertainment, all this nonsense. coming out, and he basically threatened to take some form of action and to shut it down if the council wouldn't meet his demands. Council allegedly basically pretty much all told him to piss off. We're going ahead. We don't. Who the hell are you? Nobody. This is our town. Da da da. And so the next day, on the 25th of March, they decided to. Brian Tamaki, it later emerged because it's on camera, which I also sent you, that third one, I think. But essentially, he ordered his Gisborne pastors and all their parishioners down there to go and paint over the rainbow crossing. So that's him admitting it there.
So should we watch this? It's only 50 seconds. So you're saying this is the since deleted footage of Brian speaking in Whanganui, probably something he doesn't want you to see, which is why we should see it, because it appears to show him fully implicating himself in a crime, which is obviously painting over Gisborne City's rainbow crossing. So maybe we should have a quick squiz of it, because I haven't seen this, I don't think. So let's have a look at here's another Christmas present for you all.
You know those rainbow crossings? Originally, I didn't realise what was behind, what was underneath the cover. And because the council...
It's asphalt, isn't it? Asphalt, what's underneath the rainbow crossings, maybe?
It wasn't really a cover either, so...
Because the council wouldn't listen to us in Gisborne, we were saying to them, hey, we want this to stop. They told us to buzz off. And this they're entitled to. It's everybody's freedom. And these drag queens have been here before. Well, we said it's got to stop. I don't care what you do with your private life. That's yours. But the moment you touch our...
I don't believe that, by the way. I call bullshit on that. I don't care what you do with your private life. I call bullshit on that.
That's yours. But the moment you touch our children's innocence, you touch me.
Whoa. Gross.
Sorry, he wants to. Did he say he wants to be touched? Is that the implication? You touch or not?
I think it's only up to him to touch those children's innocence by the sound of it.
Yeah.
I thought he delegated that to some of his crew.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. That's come to light, hasn't it? So
there you go. Yeah. And obviously lots of people then make the point with that situation is funny. It wasn't the drag queens that were getting hauled in front of the courts for doing those things.
Touch me.
No.
And I said, no.
I won't.
Our children's innocence must remain, and you cannot touch our kids. So they wouldn't listen, told us to buzz off. So I said, the boys, get the paint out. We'll hit this. I didn't think we'd get the reaction that we did when we painted over, but they responded like, I think that's record time that police have responded to any incident.
To a rainbow crossing being overpainted. Record time, you say? Yeah, it sounds like implicating oneself in a crime.
What I remember from that is that the white paint, they immediately painted it back rainbow the next day, and the white undercoat made it look even brighter and better. So they
it made it pop. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, which is that second video, Pat, where you get to see his pastor, Leighton. So she's the woman on camera in front, completely and utterly unhinged, and police are busy arresting her lot in the background. She gets a bit too bloody lippy in the end, and gets a warning, which you can watch on here as well, just towards the end there. And then the cop decides, ultimately, I'm sick of your shit, and places her under arrest to great applause.
It does look pretty good, doesn't it? The rainbow crossing does pop. Thanks for the white undercoat, Whānau. Yeah, there's the warning.
Absolutely unhinged. So there's one being led away.
And notice she's wearing her road mic there as well. So
I like
obviously making this very clear. This is very, very clear that this is for the internet, because she's recording herself on her road mic there. Road lavalier. I've got some of those. Know what that is?
I like how they're making them do the perp walk across the rainbow as well.
Take the long way home.
Now he's about to warn her.
And you should take it.
Come on, over this way.
So, how come Gisborne Council are allowed to...
Do you want to be arrested? I'm going to warn you once more. Okay. Once more.
Oh, we will. See you in court. Kia ora.
Come on.
Oh, so they can scream at me.
You've been warned.
So hang on back.
You've been warned.
Come on,
That's rainbow.
I will proudly go to jail.
Oh, that's good. Proudly going to jail is a good thing because that, you know, you don't want to be grumpy about it. It's obviously a nice day out if you're proudly going. Yeah,
so the tail end of that particular story is so that the original video, and then that was a couple of days later, obviously, from when they vandalised the crossing in the first place. And amongst all of that, on the night of the 27th was the very night that the K Road crossing in Auckland got hit as well, to which end, of course, media and even myself immediately looked in his direction, to which he posted publicly that he knew nothing about it. But ultimately, it turned out to be his bloody grandson-in-law, of course, didn't it? So I don't buy for 1 second that he wasn't involved in that one from the very beginning either. As for Leighton, who's the woman there, and her husband, Ernest, the pastors in Destiny, the tail end of that is Destiny Church had been established down there at least at least 5 years, as far as my understanding is, from locals that got in touch with me to tell me that after the initial incident, the town basically just ostracized them completely, utterly. And so what that ultimately led to was a couple of months later, next minute, they're posting on their Destiny Church Facebook page that they're shutting up shop, which is exactly what they did. So the church there has been completely shut down, and I don't know whether they've been banished or what story is, but they've ended up in bloody Invercargill of all places, start a new life, basically. So that's a win for Gizzy there, that they don't have to put up with that nonsense anymore. But they're due in court again early next year, because Tamaki mentioned it just this past Sunday, actually. And what they've been charged with is preparing to commit a crime in a public place. So they'll probably just get a wet bus ticket ultimately, but I suppose it's just a pushback on Tamaki that, in the very minimum, the establishment's saying, fuck off with your bullshit. So, he's been one of those ones this year that's kept me pretty busy, to say the least.
Yeah. How you doing, Paul? How you doing for time?
Yeah, I'm going to head off now, get myself some sleep and catch up before I have to do the next epic drive tomorrow. Thank you very much for everything this year, guys. It's been fantastic sitting down, watching and listening to everybody who's involved in this, no matter what the title is, without naming names, but it's been absolutely brilliant. And I'm very honoured that you would even invite me along to something like this tonight. So,
I'm honoured to be in your presence. Yeah. Thank you for doing you.
Oh,
The
my
honour
pleasure.
is ours, Paul. You're amazing.
Oh, no. You'll make me blush, which is a terrible thing to do. I'm already kind of sunburnt from the drive. Have a fantastic night, guys. I will catch you all later.
All right, Paul. Catch you, mate. Thanks for listening in for tonight.
Cheers, buddy.
All right, team. We got a couple more, because we've got Spides, we've got your video, and then Chewy, we're going to throw out a video as well for some of the bigger stories from this year. Should we? Because yours kind of ties in to all the treaty principles and Waitangi and all that kind of stuff, Spider. But what I didn't expect was you sent me a video about your content that was us playing your content.
I did.
So
my story for the year is best told by BHN. I decided in the end I was going to do a little compilation, but I decided that you guys told the story the best. So that is a video of you guys watching my video. But
I thought you were going to say the highlight of your year was getting on our show, but it's not. It's the content that. Okay, that's fine.
Well, actually, I was on your show the previous year, so that was the highlight of the previous year.
Sure. Fair
enough.
Should we play it?
Wait, just a little prelim, because it's actually popped up again this week as a topical news piece, given that Luxon has decided to be too scared to go to Waitangi this year. And I watched your guys' show last night on that other channel, whatever it's called, that silly thing. And it was said when discussed about him not going to Waitangi next year that, this is so disappointing because we're supposed to reject him. And I was sort of like, no. We have rejected him all year long. That is why he is not going. It is the Hekois, it's everything. It's this video. It's everything that we've done this year that has made Luxon go, I can't go. So we forced him. We rejected him first. So I just wanted to make that clear. And it was the wonderful Magenta who said it. However, I have to correct you. We did reject him first.
Or I was going to kind of give a bit of an explanation as to what the video is about, but I think the recording you sent me has us explaining what the video is about. So we'll just play it, eh? All right, here we go. Here's one that this should lead every news bulletin first thing in the morning, and I haven't seen it anywhere else. Yeah, because you basically broke this story, didn't you? You were the first to get it out there, so that was huge. Yep. So Spiderhoof has caught up on this, and no one else has. And we're going to play it for you now. I'll say it again. When you copy last year's school assignment and hope no one notices.
184 years ago, today, and 7 decades after Cook sailed south from Tahiti, Crown representatives and Māori came together to sign the Treaty of Waitangi, the Treaty of Waitangi. 183 years ago, Cook sailed south and 7 decades after Cook sailed south from Tahiti, Crown and Māori came here to sign the Treaty of Waitangi. And we know that they likely had different understandings of what they were doing. And we know that in the years that followed, the promise and the obligations of the treaty were not upheld by the Crown. And we know that they likely had different understandings of what they were doing. Jesus. And we know that in the years that followed, the promise and the obligations
I tell you what,
of the treaty were not
this is embarrassing for him, but honestly, this is more embarrassing for the media. Why was this not the lead story on all the news? We know they're watching social media. We might get to that part of the story next, actually. We know they're keeping an eye on social media, the mainstream media. No one's done this except Spiderhoof.
While the journey continues.
There you go.
Yeah, so that's the end of it. So the mainstream media, as in the televisions, did not start reporting on it till 24 hours later. But it was in the press and stuff. But why it didn't happen for 24 hours later is because it was obvious that somebody within the national camp had seen my post, and people were talking about it everywhere. And so by the next morning, he'd cancelled all his PR chats and interviews and cancelled anything to do with reporters the next day. So that is why it took a little bit longer for them to get it into the news, because they were waiting to try and catch him. And one reporter did tenaciously run through the car park after him, asking why he copy-pasted, and it was beautiful to watch. And so, yeah, it did take them 24 hours, but like I said, it's because he cancelled all the press conferences for the following day once this had got out and hit the streets as far as social media is concerned. And I honestly take quite a lot of pride in rushing him out of Waitangi Day early. That was just chef's kiss part of it. Yeah.
I think the reality is people often ask why he's bald, and I think it's because you scalped him. I think that's actually what has happened, and that's what I and one of the things from the chat last night, I think it was Peter who said it from memory, to reiterate putting this back in the headlines, said, because like we were looking forward to hearing that speech for a third time when he said he wouldn't go this year or next year. So that's beautiful as well. So well done. Great story.
So funnily, I was actually going to last night post the clip that you're talking about, Spiderhoof. It was Amelia, I can't remember her last name, from News Hub, that chased them through the grounds actually and showed your video. So in fact, if you went onto my account, Pat, just type in the search Waitangi, it should come up. It's only down a minute. We'll take.
Yeah, it's a good shot because she literally has to chase him as he runs to the car, basically.
You guys need to keep talking while I search.
He was also hounded for the rest of the week every time he went to any sort of stand-up or interview. He was asked about it. He doubled down, saying it was on purpose. This is it.
So he should have been. How fucking embarrassing.
How was your first Waitangi?
Oh, it was fantastic. Had a great few days. Really enjoyed it.
Do you commit to...
I like the idea is it's the kiss thing. She's asking the questions to get in there first easily.
coming to Waitangi every year as Prime Minister?
Oh, I've been coming for some time and I hope so.
He was here last year, but it's been noted a chunk of his speech yesterday was almost identical to his last one.
183 years ago, 184 years ago, and 7 decades after Cook sailed south from Tahiti, and 7 decades after Cook sailed south from Tahiti, Crown and Māori came together to sign the Treaty of Waitangi. And on the 6th of February 1840, William Hobson and the chiefs assembled here at Waitangi. People just
So
like
ridiculous.
us. And they were trying to navigate their way towards a united, stable, peaceful and prosperous future.
Is he not aware how cameras work? How they kind of save it from so you can look at it again. He's not aware what they do, how they function.
How many times, Pat, have you just been able to pull up something he said against the government and used it directly against him as the government?
Yeah,
he is not aware. They do not keep track of what he says.
Yeah.
His whole campaign relies on people being ignorant and dumb, but we're not. We can see these things, but he's still relying on that, and I don't understand how he's not got better at it, because he's just getting worse.
But even if we can't see them, they're recorded and we can look them up again. It's bizarre.
Did you copy and paste your speech?
Look, I mean, there's some great themes I wanted to talk about, which is actually making sure that people understood the
Don't
treaty is
talk
part of our
faster.
past, present and our future, and it will continue to be so.
I guess, but why did you copy and paste your speech from the year before? Did you not pick up the mantle to listen?
We've got some great work to do, and that's what we're going to carry on doing.
But why did you copy and paste your speech?
I think Christopher Luxon still thinks he's the leader of the opposition in campaign mode. Actually, he is the Prime Minister now.
Gosh, that was a year ago. How is that still relevant today as well?
Now is his moment to start leading the whole of the country, not just the people who he's trying to get to vote for the National Party.
But today, Luxon didn't even want to speak to his voters, gapping Waitangi in a Crown car to avoid talking to everyone.
It's a very good-looking second-hand
Bingo.
crawler who was being driven in there. Yeah, well done, Spies. It was pretty awesome.
So it wasn't my most popular. I think I was on Shadowban and TikTok at the time, so it didn't end up being like my most popular, but it is my most worthy piece for the year, definitely. Yeah.
It does also kind of lead into two of our clips. I've got two clips for us because, Calvin, you had a bit of a love affair with old mate from Destiny. We had a bit of a love affair this year with Piers Morgan, because Piers Morgan gave us our biggest views by far, 137,000, 97,000, 28,000, 24,000. Like, you have to go down to basically Will Smith punching someone in the face to get above it. So we had a bit of a love affair with him, but also our biggest clip of the year that wasn't related to him was about the gang patches. And the reason I say it kind of relates to the last one is the question that we asked on that night is, what about the media? What is the media doing when they're not? Why are they following our leads? Like, why are they using our stuff and getting wind of what we've said to do it? And the biggest clip we did this year was Piers Morgan, and it was captioned, Piers Morgan is no longer a journalist, when he was talking to Mehdi Hassan, basically going, well, their numbers, like, it's evident he does no research into the conversations he's talking about. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I'll just give you an example.
Where 3,000 Hezbollah terrorists were targeted specifically.
How do you know that?
What do you mean? How do I know that?
You just said 3,000 Hezbollah terrorists were
How
targeted.
many was it?
I don't know. I'm asking you. Made the claim. How
That
do you
is
know
what's
it's
been
3,000?
reported.
By
Do you
who?
dispute that?
Yeah, I dispute everything Israel
But
says.
you
They've
don't know
lied
the
for
real
a year,
number. You don't know the real number.
But I didn't give a number. You did.
Well, what has been the number from the other side?
I didn't give a number. You said 3,000 terrorists. I'm wondering why.
That is what's been reported.
No, it's not reported. It's what's said by Israel. Or it says what's said by people speaking on behalf of Israel.
So
was a little girl who
Israel
died?
has,
Was a
Israel,
little...
hang on. Israel hasn't even said it did it.
They have in private. It's been reported widely.
you?
No, to the American government.
Okay, but
It's
don't
been-
say they said it publicly. They haven't.
But
obviously, I
killed.
believe they did it, right? But
I believe they did it
but
too.
You're saying they said
But
this in public.
You just gave a 3,000 number, and I'm wondering. I just saw a little girl's funeral last week. Was she a Hezbollah terrorist in your view?
No.
So then why did you say 3,000 terrorists? There was a kid killed.
I was about to say that in the process of targeting very specifically in an extraordinarily
It rolls into lots of opinion there. So the idea of the media and what they're doing this year, and we say this lots on that other thing that we do that we're not going to talk about, is we're asking questions that they're not asking. And I can see from your clip, Spides, into our biggest clip of the year, it's actually a theme of feels like this year as well.
Quick disclaimer, no relation. Just wanted to put that out there.
And his show's going gangbusters. Like it's not only that he's not basically, it's not that he's not being honest, but he's not giving accurate information. It's that that's what the algorithms are still sending out there.
I think his show is going gangbusters by the people he's bringing on. So the baby reindeer lady and stuff like that, I think that's catapulted him because, and he's just swimming the tide of Netflix basically there. So he has gathered some pretty good numbers via some of those more unusual types of characters that he has brought on the show. And that was a phenomenal interview, to be honest. I have to give credit there. It was very interesting. But I definitely don't agree with all his approaches. That's for sure.
No. What I mean, we kind of all. I mean, it's this new age, aren't we? We're sort of all media now. Calvin, do you kind of think that about yourself? You sort of, it's Twitter and you do your stuff, but you are disseminating information to the public.
Yeah. I think that what we do is, I think it's become more and more important that we continue on. Basically, I mean, you guys in particular, or those other guys rather. What are they? KFC or IRD or ESD?
It's a different. You can tell because I've got a different hat on.
Yeah. I mean, you guys have really gone up several notches this year, which is fantastic to see. And like I said, when you asked the question to me recently as to why I became a Patreon, and the answer to that is simply that I just want to support to ensure that you guys stay on air, because you're unearthing and showing the public what may not necessarily, and frankly, on a lot of occasions now with the downturn in media and all that sort of stuff, that people wouldn't otherwise be seeing. And you're delivering it, and I would hope, much like myself and you too, Spider Hoof, that people perceive us as delivering it in a truthful way, so that they're getting the right information and they can, have the important conversations out in their communities that they need to have. So that's why I personally do what I do. It's a lot of work, but I just see great value in it, and may we all continue to get success and just let it build and build.
Yeah. I think you're right, and I said this last night as a bit of a joke. We're a good return on investment, but I think that's what the world of independent news and social media is. You can not have to have the same sort of overheads or same sort of costings to drive into it to get a response for it. And so, as a sort of, success, per dollar spent, so to speak, the independent media world is the place, even if they're smaller. The way that it's done and the stuff that's getting out there and the way that it spreads through grassroots is the future, but it's here today. Is it right? Something like that.
Exactly.
I think there's a really good example of that in the space at the moment. The difference between how the situation in Gaza is reported by mainstream media and how it's reported by folks around the world kind of doing what we're doing. That smaller sort of micro reporting, micro journalism, opinion based stuff is really just showing how out of step the mainstream media is on some of these things. Like the story that really sticks out to me is was it that Israeli football team went to the Netherlands and their supporters basically went on a rampage, ripping down Palestinian flags and assaulting taxi drivers that were obviously Palestinian or Arab backgrounds, that sort of thing. And it was initially reported that way. And then, like, within hours, it changed to people were chasing Israelis through the streets of the Netherlands like it was 1939. Because there had been enormous diplomatic and, I guess, financial pressure put on those news organizations to update the story. And it was folks like us around the world sort of going, no, we saw the original story, and here's a whole bunch of people that were there on Reddit and Twitter and all of this sort of stuff. They have reframed this. This is what they do. And I think that's the whole reason that journalism was set up was to hold people to account, right? And it's now evolving to people having to keep the media in their lane as well, to keep their integrity intact. So yeah, people may joke about what we do, from my mum's basement, of course, but it has value. We have to keep everybody doing their job.
And it's really important.
That's a part of the reason we're doing this, bringing people together, having a space for other people's fans, other people's subscribers to see other content and driving them to each other. That's the exact reason we're doing this. Sorry, Spides.
Yeah, for me, it's really important to have backing evidence as well. I always try to have it on my videos, and I think people appreciate it quite a lot, because you can talk to something till you're blue in the face, but then when you actually supply the black and white about it as well, and it's coming from the Treasury or somewhere very credible, then people can't argue it in the comments because all the information's there. I haven't said anything that's other than the actual information, and I don't think that happens at all in the mainstream media. Well, actually, sorry, I think that Jack Tame does a pretty good job at it, and maybe some others, but it's very infrequent. It's more they're always just working on the fly rather than working on research.
I'd like to actually play our last little clip. It's only 60 seconds. This was our. I like that this is sort of our biggest, most viewed New Zealand story this year. It was actually us talking to Harry Tam about gang patches, which is interesting. So that was something that struck a chord at a moment, and they did. I'll play you 60 seconds, or maybe a little bit more, actually like 90 seconds of talking to Harry Tam the day before the gang patch was about to come into law. Dude, hey, let's talk about this, because midnight tonight, gang patch ban laws come into effect. You're obviously in and around the community. What are you hearing?
Well, I think there's a mixture of views from various people, ranging from civil disobedience and then taking it to court. So there's a broad range of views from the gang community. Time will tell. We've sort of talked with the police before, and we get inconsistent responses. So it's going to be interesting to see how it unfolds. But I think there's some issues that I'm particularly concerned about in regards to the whole issue of human rights. So you will be aware that the Attorney General advised that this was going to be a huge breach of the Bill of Rights. But unfortunately, we can take it to court for a judicial review, but the court can't override the government. So what the judicial review, a good outcome would be there be a judicial declaration that these laws are inconsistent with the Bill of Rights, but it won't change it. So that then brings us into another situation, for example, at an international level, where it could weaken the government's position. For example, the Prime Minister was meeting with the President of China, and he raised the issue about human rights with China. So in the future, the President will raise human rights about gangs in New Zealand.
I just thought that was such an interesting point. And in fact, it was something that I don't remember him saying when I looked at that clip and stuff. And I'm like, oh, of course. So New Zealand goes out and goes, the women's vote and, anti-nuke and, you guys are doing human rights. And then all of those companies or countries can go, well, and so are you. Where's your moral high ground?
Is, that moral high ground thing relies on Luxon actually understanding what hypocrisy is, because he's actually immune to it. He has no comprehension of it, so he won't see it that way at all, because he can never be in that realm of hypocrisy in his own mind.
I just think the gang patch law as well is a perfect, like if you needed one example of how this government operates, is putting something out there that Chester Burrows told us is a good headline but terrible legislation, and he was he was the Minister for Police when they tried to do it last time. So what a perfect a culmination or example of what this government is terrible legislation that's a good headline for your voters. Terrible, won't work, breaches human rights, and it's like national 2026.
It's just window dressing, ultimately. Really.
Yep.
Pure window dressing.
Well, team, this has been a first. Is there anything else you guys want to put out there? What's happening next year? Of course, we haven't really talked about Treaty of Principles, Bill, during this show, although it's kind of come up around the peripheries around Treaty of Waitangi and stuff. Do we want to have a 5-minute chat about that, or are we ready to sign off?
I have something to say on that. I
Yeah,
do
go.
have something to say on that. And, you know, I know that that other show of yours is quite popular and gets around the world. So I'm hoping that this show is just as popular and that we have His Royal Highness watching. Because I think it's time for him to step in on this. I think it's time for him to have a word to the people who are speaking on his behalf. And I think that King Charles should be very concerned with the fact that something is going on right now that he is not taking seriously. Well, doesn't appear to be taken seriously. I have seen him apologize for crimes of the past or terrible things of the past on how things have happened or not happened. So what is he doing about it now? Is he just going to do the same thing, stay silent? And so William has to apologize for mistakes of the past? Or is he going to wait for George to be king before to make that apology of mistakes of the past? Because this is happening right here in New Zealand, right this minute, Your Majesty, Your Highness, King Charles. Oh, nearly said Prince. Why are you waiting? Why are you waiting for this to be another mistake of the past and it's under your crown? What are you waiting for? There is no reason to wait. Step up. These people are talking in your name. You need to be able to manage it now and not wait for your child or your grandchildren or your great-grandchildren to apologize for your mistakes that you're making now by not speaking up. That's my message to our royal.
So, King Charles, if you're watching, Spider Hoof on TikTok is the way to get a hold of Spider Hoof for that answer. And we'd all appreciate actually a response to that, because it was a very interesting thing those iwi leaders did by doing the open letter. And I think, you know, the Queen and the King now has always been sort of the head of the country, but only in a figurative state. But you're right. Things are being done in that monarch's name that may need to be apologised for in the future. It's a really interesting way to look at it. So why don't we just cut out the bullshit 20, 30, 40 years and just sort it out now? Love it.
Step up, mate. Yep.
Love it. Yeah. And Waitangi is going to be fascinating. Luxon not going. Seymour and Peters are. I'm going to be up there
they
as
won't
well.
Go.
So, yeah,
Peters might. Seymour won't go.
No. Seymour will go. Absolutely, 100%. Because he's actually doing a debate up there on Bomber's show with Willie Jackson. He's either that confident, maybe that arrogant, or that deluded that he sees no reason not to go. He'll be there. Yeah. So will Peters.
He just wants to be on television. Yeah.
Loves the camera. Loves the camera, that man.
Sure does.
Calvin, any thoughts to wrap up?
Oh, I just sent you a link to another tweet. It may be a bit long, probably, in case just thought you might want to use it as maybe the ending. It's just over 7 minutes long. But what it is a whole lot of TikToks, multi-TikTok content creators, pieces that I strung together after the Hikoi, which just shows, you know, the people on the ground and what it was all about, and to leave people with warm fluffies. I think there's a couple of clips I've inserted into the middle and towards the end from the hui, where they're talking to both tangata whenua and tangata tiriti and all the rest of it. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, we can have it playing in the background maybe while we wrap up and say goodbye, and then if there's 2 or 3 minutes left when it's time to go, we can put it out there. Chewy, anything else? There's actually a bunch of chats and super chats that I want to get to as well, but is there anything else you want to throw out there as we come towards the end, Chewy?
Oh, look, I'd just like to say it's been an absolutely mental year, just like with everything. Globally, locally, the whole works. And I think when we look at, I guess, the mediascape and you know, mainstream media, social media as well. I mean, there's been lots of developments there with Twitter and Blue Sky and the effect that it's had on elections and that sort of thing. That community trumps all of that. And we talked about it with our show, that one of the things that we're most proud of is the community that we've built around it. And I think that's your idea with what we're doing with this little experiment, is to link our communities up together so everybody's aware of who's out there. That's one of the big things about, socialism, is that we all pull together in the same directions to even up the power dynamic between those with the money and those with the positions of power. So yeah, find your community, bring other people to that community that you're found. And if we can build on that, then that's the goal, right?
Yeah.
100%.
Well said. For you, Spider Hoof, nice beard from Kiwi.
Thank you.
Beard.
I knew my
Nice
first
beard.
time on here, I'd have to wear a beard because of some wording stuff. The boys with beards.
Have you shown? I know you're not showing your face properly, but have you been even? You're not unmasked. You're masked. But have you done anything anywhere where you've even been masked and visible?
I'm about to. So no, this will be the first time. Sorry, no. Technically, this will be the first time. So
you're about to.
On this fabulous thing that we're probably going to do regularly, but also I'm about to start doing reaction videos. So
Nice.
I will still be masked, but I will also be less of a faceless entity than I have been. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Very cool. Mr. Alex, just wanting to say I enjoyed watching Calvin Morgan roasting sovereign citizens and cookers and driving them mad on Twitter. Another one from Qbird. Sorry, this was a question to Paul about David Seymour book reading. Exaldair, late fee was watching the Soups trailer again. Joe Carden Collins, Uncle Joey's Kale. Oh, Kai, sorry, Kai, Uncle Joey's Kai. First time watching live, thought I'd bang a super chat up. Thanks, Joe. I appreciate that. Gold says, common sense, a thing so rare it should be considered a new superpower.
Screw it up.
David McLucky, Craven is another C word to describe the coalition of chaos. Tane says, the IREX cancellation seemed to me to be purely out of spite. It did have that vibe about it, eh? It's like, because what was the actual good reason for doing it? Oh, because landlords needed some more reimbursements. Alex, ignoring the radicals leaves them in their bubble to spread hate. Engagement is the only way to show how wrong they are. Couple more guys. Starfish, F-I-C-H-E-S, there. Small error there, Spiderhoof. Evidence doesn't mean they won't argue in the comments. It just means that they look like fools when they do. And
well, I guess
we all know they don't even watch. Yeah, I was going to say the other thing is, even
yeah,
if they give evidence,
I guess it's
that
the best
implies they've
shield
seen
they
it.
have. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's the best shield that there is. So yeah,
it happens very commonly. I'm sure it does to all of us, where you're like, show me you haven't watched the clip without saying you haven't watched the clip, as they're tweeting something back to you that you've covered in the clip, and say the opposite too, but they just want to say it. Elephant in the room, Chewy. CCPC flag.
Oh, it's a lefty collective thing. I found it in my wardrobe the other day. It's obviously hasn't had much use since Russia went into Ukraine. But there we go. You'll probably never see it again.
Special occasion. Well, team, I mean, we can just say sayonara and see you later, and kia ora, and see you off and watch the last couple of minutes of this. I think maybe that's what we should do, eh? So we can finish up with a couple of minutes of the TikTok assembly that Calvin put together to finish on a good vibe, like Calvin was saying. How do we feel about that?
That sounds great. But first off, everyone have a wonderful Christmas and a happy New Year, and I hope you're all well and safe.
Yep. And stay safe through that. If you're on the roads, drop it by 5Ks. If you get there 15 minutes later, it doesn't matter. We want you to get there.
The turkey won't
drive
burn,
safe.
don't worry.
Drive safe. Be responsible, because we all want to see you back here next year for our individual and collective conversations we're having. All right, let's get to the last bit of this tweet.
The least we can do is show our support, our love, our aroha.
I just want to support my culture. This stuff makes me really emotional. Te reo Māori being flown, spoken everywhere, that'd be beautiful, that'd be amazing.
This was really important for us to be part of the conversation.
Being here for our people and for Aotearoa. It's here. We're doing it.
One thing that I'm really loving about it is seeing all of our diverse whānau here together, coming together, supporting one another. It's beautiful.
Hey, I got Māori in me. I got Māori in me. Hope to getting cancelled. Shackles on the ankles, ruin our lives. I will never take.
I'm just going to turn this down because I don't know if that's a copyrighted song or not, because if it is, we'd get booted off YouTube. So we'll just see the end of that and wait for this to run out and say Happy Christmas, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us in the first of these. Hopefully the first of many, the New Zealand Leftist Collective. And be safe, be well, everybody. We will see you in 2025. If you're a viewer of Chewy and my other thing, lots of that content coming out, best ofs on the way as well. What about you two guys? What about you, Calvin? Over the Christmas period, you got anything coming out for people to keep an eye on?
Yeah, I'm just going to continue on. The only day that I have off really is Christmas Day, which is the day that I usually say thanks to everyone. So Merry Christmas to you all. Be safe, be merry. Most of all, enjoy. We'll see you.
And Spides, you've mentioned a new initiative, a reaction type thing. Anything you want to tell the
You'll
people
start
about?
to see some things pop up on my TikTok now that I've got some time off. I'll start looking into that more seriously. I'm also joining a live on TikTok. I'll be live on TikTok on Sunday night, I think at 8 p.m. with Timothy Paul,
Cool.
which has been arranged by the Right Honourable, not my Prime Minister, and I've been invited. So I'll be on there as well on Sunday night.
Best way to find that is through your TikTok?
Yes.
Cool. All right, team. And me and Chewy will be back being live at the 20th of January. Emily and Magenta are back live on the 13th of January. Between now and then, there will be 11 best of shows, and there are some crackers. The first show is Professor Margaret Mutu and a whole bunch of other people. It's off the chain. I think if we could do best ofs for the whole year, we would never have to be here, Chewy. There's that much good content coming out. That's what's going to be going through. So lots of stuff coming out. Be safe, be well. Have a really good Christmas, everybody, and we will see you in 2025.
See you.
Bye, team. See you next time.
Yes, ma'am.
Ciao.